Some of my subscribers already know this about me, but it wasn't until recent that I've been able to see any of my videos. Now, the funny thing is that 2 of the videos that I hadn't seen until today are my #1 and my #3 most viewed. They're both about the same thing, which was of me being taken advantage of by my best friend. And the crazy thing is that I don't think it's the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to me, but for some reason it is the most difficult one for me to revisit. I think it's because there's so much shame and guilt that was involved in that incident that whenever I go back to it, it's super heavy memory. But it's because of that reason that I need to face it, especially when I'm inspired to make a new one. So this video is for the friends and family of someone who was taken advantage of and they have confided in you. It's heavy for them, it's also heavy for you. How do you give them the best support that you possibly can? I'm gonna give you my advice, my personal advice. Give me a like while the intro plays. This is gonna be tough, but This video was inspired by a comment that I received from Potnitka7. First off, thank you so much for the inspiration. I appreciate it. Loosely, you asked me if I had any advice for folks such as yourself who, like friends or family member of someone who was the victim of SA. And first off, I want to begin by saying thank you, because one thing that I know for certain is that it was so difficult for me to open up to anyone about this. So the fact that they are confiding in you and other folks out there, that means that you are this loving, safe space for them, that you're doing things right as a human being. And so thank you so much for being that type of person for them. I know that they appreciate it more than they can ever express. Now, usually when I make a video like this, I kind of want to initially rush to doing research, going to different resources and just like making this top 10 list of pieces of advice. But with this subject, because it's so personal to me, I kind of want to take a different approach with my advice and kind of make it more personally what I would have wanted for my friends and family, the tools I would have wanted for them to have in dealing with me. I did do my due diligence and did the research, and I discovered 2 things. First off, that even though every situation is unique and individual and specific, the tools that can be used, especially for those who want to support an SA survivor, kind of remain the same. So that was good to know. Secondly, what I discovered is that since I pretty much knew all of the stuff, I would call myself an expert. And since universities are so easy to give away honorary doctorates, University of Phoenix, call me. No, I'm kidding. What I really mean to say is that I don't want this video to be this static, sanitized, structured thing. I kind of just want this to be a conversation, because I think that's kind of what we all prefer. Now, you are this friend, this family member of someone who, again, is a SA survivor. I think I said victim before, but they are survivors of that. And they have found you to be that safe space for them. What do you do with that, right? How do you be the best supportive person that you can be? The truth is, there isn't a lot that you can do that's gonna help them get out of it. Usually the best piece of advice I would leave until the end, but the best piece of advice is that they should speak with someone who is a licensed professional, someone who has the tools to help them dig out of it. It worked for me. The only way that I know of that it's worked for other folks, ultimately, you can move on and you can still go on with your life, but all that stuff stays there until you work it out. So that is the best piece of advice that I could give. But again, let's rewind and go back. You're this person to them. They're telling you this stuff that happened to them. What do you do in that moment, right? First off, if they're telling you, I'm assuming they love you and that you love them. And so you lead with letting them know that you love them, that you're concerned about them, you're there for them. And part of that is letting them know that they're not alone, because that's the thing. I wasn't sure if I was gonna get emotional. I wasn't expecting it to happen this early, but you feel so alone. You feel like no one else has gone through that same experience and is feeling the same things that you're feeling. So while it would be helpful to speak to someone else who has gone through the same thing, of course that's helpful. But I didn't even need that. I just needed for someone to say, I'm here with you, to go through your experience with you. So whenever you feel like whenever you have a low day, whenever it's just so much in your brain, let me know that, so that together we can change things, we can make it better. So in that case, let them know that they're not alone. You're gonna be side by side. You're gonna be holding their hand, and you're gonna be that shoulder for them to lean on no matter what. Another thing is to give them space and time, because for some folks, it's like maybe you don't wanna just tell everything. Maybe, it's like, maybe I'm safe and comfortable with just an overview of what happened, but I don't want to go into every detail. Now, you being this supportive person, maybe you want to know the details, because like, okay, maybe I can help you out if I know everything. Or wait, you skipped over this. What exactly happened there? Like that might kind of just put like a little stop. Like at this point, another thing is that let them talk, because if they've bottled this in for so long and they're telling you, sometimes it'll come out like Niagara Falls. It's like, finally, all this weight, I can release all this pressure. And so you don't want to do anything that's going to kind of build that dam back up, So just let them talk. Let them say whatever it is that they need to say, and how much of it that they want to say. Because the other thing is that if they're considering you their safe space, that's not just a one-day pass. Like, you will be their safe space until something crazy happens to when you're not. But while you are their safe space, it doesn't all have to happen in one day. Trust me, sometimes it's easy to say, okay, you want to stop here? Let's stop here. Don't push them. Don't ask for more details. What will happen likely is that when they have processed other parts of that incident, then they'll feel more safe with telling you and come back to you and give more of that detail. So don't interrupt them and don't push them for more information. And this goes without saying. Obviously, if you're their safe space, then they should be able to trust you. And so making sure that whatever they're saying is confidential and you're not spilling their beans to everyone else. Again, I don't need to tell you guys that. Most of you know this already, right? And I kind of mentioned this earlier as far as like them seeking professional help. But for you being that supportive person in their life is just to know your limitations. You're not the expert, and your job isn't to fix them, isn't to heal them. It's just to support them. So know your limitations. Know that your purpose in this situation is just to be that shoulder to lean on and to let them know that they're not alone. But it isn't to solve any problems. So don't try to do that, because again, you might be giving advice that is counterproductive or is false. And of course, you don't want to do that either, right? So that is the best piece of advice that I could give in general, is that person needs to seek professional help. If you want to be the most supportive friend, what you can do is help them with that research. Because what happens is that maybe it's like, it happened with me, is you don't want to go, so you told someone, right? But you don't want to go all out. Maybe you don't know how to do that. Like, you're not ready. Maybe you don't want to think about it for a minute. You're like, okay, I just spilled my beans and maybe I just need to push this away for a second. And that's cool, right? They have to go through their process. But if you, being that super supportive friend, what you can do is help them with the research. Find if they need free resources, there's stuff out there for them. If not, there's tons of information online. You can get information for therapists and psychologists and whoever they need to talk to. Gather that stuff for them, so that you can go, you know what? I can't help you the way that you need to be helped. These people can, like, these resources can. So here, I've put this together for you. And even if they're like, oh, I don't know if I want that, I'm not ready for that, whatever, if they're in excuse mode, that's fine, but do the research and keep it. Because again, ultimately, that is the best route to take. And so later on, they might say, hey, do you still have that stuff? So that's the best advice that I could give for that SA survivor. But for you, as a supportive person, this, I saved this for last. The best advice that I could give for someone who wants to be supportive is actually two. First off, is to believe them. That was the biggest fear for me. It wasn't even so much telling the secret of mine of what happened and being vulnerable. It was more that once I did share this information, that I was gonna get that look. The look, oh man, the look either of like it's not that big of a deal, or that, are you sure that happened that way, or you? That petrified me. That anyone that I trusted, that was my safe space, for them, the thought that anyone could look at me that way. And because here's the thing, the second piece of advice is to let them know that it's not their fault. Because as a survivor of SA, you're blaming yourself. You're denying it. You're minimizing it. You don't want to believe it. So what's the worst thing that your safe space can do is not believe you. What's the best thing that they could do is to let you know that it wasn't your fault. And again, ultimately, I keep going back to therapy because it is all about therapy. That's going to help you realize and go through the work of accepting that it wasn't your fault. But just hearing that initially from that person that you love, that you trust so much, that's going to me, that helped to give me the strength to go, okay, the seedlings of me thinking, maybe it wasn't my fault. Maybe. And then again, going on, moving forward, doing the work, and then knowing that it wasn't my fault. So yeah, nothing groundbreaking, nothing that you're not gonna find on a website somewhere. Again, the advice is pretty much universal because it does help. But I guess the purpose of this video is if not to come from a licensed professional, but from just little old me, and then maybe you can take that and do the other stuff that you need to do. So I hope, really, again, as I mentioned at the beginning, this is a tough subject for me to talk about, and all I'm hoping is that this will be a benefit to anyone out there. So a like would be great, a subscribe would be even better, but most importantly, comment. And for all of you folks out there, especially if you are an SA survivor, if you have any tips that I didn't touch over that you think will be helpful, one thing that isn't going to hurt is care and concern for others. So share that with us.